Hello YouTube, welcome to episode 3 of the Strat Butcher build. It has been a month since I've done anything to this guitar, and I have been really slacking on guitar building the last few months because I'm almost 4 months into doing a major renovation part on Monica and I's house, which is completely refurbishing from the ground up our master bedroom and ensuite. That seems to be that it's going to be coming to a close in the next couple of months, which is awesome, and I really need to get back to spending some time building these guitars. Started building the 3 Telecasters that the last couple of videos have been about in October 2022. That's how long I've had those videos ready to go. They still have not had anything done to them since. That is going to be another thing that I need to get onto. But today, Strat Butcher. I've been playing this guitar a little bit on and off for the last month, kind of seeing how it is, how it feels, what changes need to be made, what I like, what I don't like about it, the full assembly and playtime before disassembly and finish. Couple of things. Firstly, my bridge does not seem that it's actually in the correct position. Scale length of a Stratocaster 25.5, and I think that ends up being something like 628 millimeters. Now, to where I'm at, I essentially need another 4 millimeters, I think, to get the intonation correct. It's not quite there. The saddles are pulled all the way back, and only really the high E and the D string are intonated correctly. So when I remove the bridge, I am going to re-drill the holes 4 millimeters further back. That's one thing. Secondly, the roller nut. The cheap Chinese LSR roller nut copy. I'm not sure how I feel about it. This could be one of the reasons why it doesn't intonate quite correctly, because the ball bearings sit about 2.5 millimeters further in than what the nut location really is. The second thing about it is it's very finicky to get the correct nut height. I haven't made a decision yet, but I feel that I'm going to just put a normal nut on there. I'll make a bone nut once the instrument is finished. It's going to be a little bit wider than usual, but that's okay. I think that would suit the instrument better anyway. I did want to try this nut out because I used to have an old FSR USA Strat a few years ago that had one, and it was a great playing instrument. Another thing is I've got one high fret around the 16th or 17th fret. It feels like I could do with a little bit more fall away on the higher frets. The setup is pretty good. The action is a tiny little bit higher than kind of what I want. It is quite high. At the 12th fret, the underside of the string is, well, it's between 1.75 and 2 millimeters. I would like it to be a bit lower. I think part of this is actually due to the roller nut. I'm not completely convinced on it. And the neck does have, I mean, it's got a fair amount of relief. So yeah, there we go. A little bit of fretwork to do. There is one thing, actually. The string trees on the guitar, I bought some gold roller type. They're just really bulky, and I'm not really pleased with the way that they look. So I've actually got a Goto, whatever this is, string retainer bar. I think that's going to look a bit nicer on there. Probably pop it on at a bit of an angle, just to give it that kind of forward momentum look. Yeah, I think that's going to work a bit better than these. I've had a lot of success with these particular tuners from Northwest Guitars, but for whatever reason this time there just doesn't seem to be a lot of string retainment going on, and that was leading to a couple of issues earlier on in terms of playability and string buzzing. So those kind of things there to sort out. Apart from that, the instrument plays really great. It's very loud. It's quite heavy, being that it is a countertop. And yeah, I haven't actually tried the tremolo out at all. I just wanted to get the guitar set up and playing first. I will do the tremolo setup in the final assembly and setup. So with all those things being said, I need to completely strip this guitar of all of the parts, all of the hardware, and finish sand. Completely sand the instrument. So, get to it. Oh dear. Screw is made of cheese. I'm quite lucky here because I'm going to be staining the headstock. I haven't said what colour yet. So I'm going to fill these holes and then we're going to be okay to stain. The same with the nut. I just have a feeling that I'm going to make a bone nut for this guitar, and we'll keep this for something else, maybe something a little bit more shreddy. The other thing is obviously the colour. It doesn't go with the gold. So yeah, we'll put this on something a little bit more shreddy, maybe, where it's going to have nickel hardware. Can go in as well. One thing that has worked particularly well is the jack input location. I put that on a couple of the Facebook groups and on Reddit, and even though I haven't invented this thing, but I think it's something that a lot of people haven't really seen or thought of. So pretty glad to inspire some people to have a go. And quite a few comments on the fact that I've got 5 springs set up in the tremolo. They're just placeholders for the time being. It will only be a 3 spring setup. Backplate, I also do need to drill the holes on to mount that, so maybe we can do that right now. there we go. It's not exactly how I wanted it to look when I first come up with the idea of how the back plates were going to be and what they were going to look like, and having all the lines kind of being straight and the same. But for a first attempt, I'm pretty happy. My one thing really that I don't like is the locations of the screw holes for the tremolo cover cavity. But I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And I do actually like the idea of it being recessed. I think that's cool. I will polish up these at the very end for the final assembly, and I may even put some kind of finish on them to stop them getting tarnished or too scratched or anything like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Crack on to the next thing. Those holes are very close to the other holes. I think I need to dowel these. I hadn't recalled that the screw heads, that the screws were so big, and if I don't do this well enough, these screws could then collapse into here, which is a big problem. Also remembering that okay, that's fine. Didn't want to push the trem too far back, thus not allowing the full range of movement. But I think that if we do go there, we have covered most of the cavity, as previously there was a small gap at the rear. Now we are going to have a very small gap here at the front, but I can live with that. Right, I have returned from my journey, and the smallest I could find was 6mm dowel, so I'm going to have to make this smaller than what it already is. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit frustrating, but there we go. It's beech. I couldn't find any dark hardwood, but at least beech is pretty solid, and it's not going to be visible. So a few little cuts, and I mean, if not, I have just found this piece of material here. Maybe it's better that I fashion it out of this. It was a wasted trip going and getting that dowel, because as soon as I looked at the saw, I found this piece of wood, which is the same material from the neck. And that's taken me all of 5 minutes. So while we're at it, you might as well just plug these 2 holes here as well. That's made a bit of a mess. There is one more thing that I would like to do before I finish sand, and that is just to smooth out this transition, maybe to the point where it's actually invisible, so it just looks seamless, because I think that would be cool. I could just keep it the way that it is. It's not affecting anyone. You don't feel it on the back of the hand at all, but I just think it would look really, really, really damn cool. So I'm going to do it. Okay, I've gone 400 on the body. It's very smooth. These plug holes are not very visible, which is cool. As you can kind of see in there, that's looking good. I'm just gonna drill those a little bit deeper. I'm not gonna go the full depth until after I apply the finish, because it means screwing them in and taking them out and everything else. The back is also at 400. Then I'm going to mask everything but the top, because the thing I haven't said what I'm doing yet is the colour of the finish. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. And I've just seen a tiny little nick. Mistake seems to have happened. I didn't press the record button as I was masking off the headstock and kind of talking through that. So I've masked off the headstock there to stain the face of the headstock, and also the body around the binding as much as possible. I will still have to scrape the binding to reveal the top side of it. It's just really to mitigate as much staining off where I don't want it to be. I have had many different thoughts and ideas for the finish, for the colour. I've still never tried nitro. I've got a brand new paint gun and a compressor and everything that I need to spray, but it's really difficult to get nitro shipped over here. There's a lot of customs clearance and things that we need to do because we're technically not in EU territory and not on the mainland UK, so it makes it very difficult and very expensive to get it over here. Then I've actually got a bunch of 2K cleared that I thought I could use that, but then that's a whole other thing. Kind of stick to what you know. And well, I'm going to be using black, because black, gold and natural just looks good. It looks cool. That was always my intention, black and gold. It would have been really cool to do it in nitro and chuck it in the freezer and expose it to some heat and cold and get some checking. It's definitely something I want to do because, again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I love relic looking guitars, and I like aged in guitars that feel like they've been played. And I don't have a single guitar out of the about 20 that I own that has a nitro finish, so I want to try it. So I'm going for the water-based crimson black stunning stain. I have had a lot of luck actually with Indian ink that I've done my black Strat with before, but it's very messy and it kind of gets everywhere a lot more than stain, and I want to try and keep the rest of the instrument as clean as possible, so hence why I'm going with the black. I may even sand it back a little bit to kind of burst it. I'm not really sure. I don't know how well it's going to go on. In terms of finish, usually I do the double crimson oil, which is usually something like 3 or 4 coats of the penetrating oil, followed by about a dozen or so coats of the high build guitar oil. That's what I used on the Les Paul double cut. Now I've used Danish oil on loads of things in my house staircases, furniture, loads of the stuff, and I've got a bunch of it. So I'm actually going to use Danish oil this time. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. It's probably about a quarter of the price, and you get about 3 times as much as one of these bottles. And even though Crimson say, oh yeah, it's $20 flat shipping or whatever to wherever you are, but even just being in the Channel Islands, for some reason they want to charge like £60 delivery. So I'm sorry in this case, but I'm going Danish oil, natural. I've had good success with this. I think I'm going to put about 10 coats on. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to just see how it goes. I've never used any kind of sealers or sanding sealers or anything like that. So I did actually manage to get some sanding sealer shipped over, which it's Zinsser seal coat, and they send it in a plastic bottle instead, which is interesting. And it says here, compatible with all clear finishes, solvent-based and water-based polyurethane, varnish, lacquer and shellac. Now, the way that they've shipped this is covered everything up. I'm not sure if you can actually use an oil finish over this, so I might just skip this part. The thing that's difficult with staining part of the guitar is giving enough drying time for this to dry off. But we're going to go black. That's what we're going to do on the top of the guitar and on the face of the headstock. So yeah, start putting some colour on. Okay, YouTube, I'm going to leave it right there. It's got a good 2 or 3 coats on. I'm going to leave it for a few hours a day and see how the colour is, see if that's what I want. And from there, we're going to start putting oil on, which will be the next video. I may do a how I do Danish oil video. You put it on and you take it off, and you build a very small thin film over time and over layers. It's pretty much it, but I will document that. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. If you've stuck around till the end, then maybe think about subscribing. That really helps me. 2 ways, the algorithm, but mostly it keeps me motivated to carry on doing this. That means making the videos, not building guitars, because I don't think I'll ever stop doing this. Yeah, leave your thoughts, comments, anything down below. Thank you very much. See you later.